The Sixers had to find a way to win, and they did.
Look, this is why you play 7, because the 76ers, thinking that they know how to play the Toronto Raptors, obviously didn't in Game 1, or at least they didn't know what to expect from Kawhi Leonard, who went bonkers for 45 and outplayed Jimmy Butler. But here's the beauty of the 76ers team, which I don't think we gave enough credit for. Mm-hmm. How could we? Didn't have time to. And they haven't had this kind of adversity. But Jimmy Butler really is a dog. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if he gets embarrassed, he's going to take it personally. If he gets challenged, he's going to take it personally. And Brett Brown challenged him in this game to put it on his back. Seemed like he made every shot that he could. And Joel Embiid, as a defender, made this ugly, man. And that's the only way they can win. They don't have the scores to beat the Toronto Raptors. We know this, right? Jimmy Butler's a good scorer. Maybe Tobias Harris gets hot. Maybe J.J. Redick does. But
those are 3 guys that play big minutes.
Yeah, but were they last night?
No, they still won, which is why you should be even more,
Agreed. And so my point is, if they don't have their shooters, their scorers playing at a high level, because Toronto will, the only way they're going to win is if they muck it up.
I don't think they have to win. Listen, they're
not going to outscore the Toronto Raptors. They get into a shootout where neither team
in Philly, they might.
In
Philly, they might. They might. Listen, I don't think they have to win where it's an eyesore. I think there's certain teams that, this is more of a 90s, mm-hmm. the Knicks had to win this way for a long time, where if it's not 89, 82.
Yeah, which is basically this game last night.
Based on, true, if you want to actually modernize it. I hear you. What was this, 94, 94, 89, something like that? 94, 89. Yeah, that felt like an 88 to 83-ish kind of a game, which I have no problem with. What I like about this, though, I do believe that the Sixers can play a whole lot better because Tobias Harris was 3 for 11. Mm-hmm. Joel Embiid, save for that couple of great defensive moments and that beautiful bucket at the end where he very easily could have settled or turned into the defender where the shot I think would have either been blocked. And I know he dragged his pivot foot, but it was an incredible show of dexterity by a big load of a man at a big pivotal moment in the game. But Embiid only had 12 points. He shot 2 for 7. Ben Simmons was relatively quiet. Philadelphia 76ers shot 39% on the evening, and they had 19 turnovers. Generally, when you cough it up, and there's probably somebody that could dig this up, I would love to know how many teams in the last 10 years, I'll give you a little homework assignment, Tiki and Tierney. Last 10 years, show me how many road teams, not the first round, but as you get deeper and you start playing better teams, how many road teams have won a game where and I'm not saying there's none, but I imagine it's an underwhelming percentage, where they shot sub 40% and had nearly 20 turnovers. That's 19.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, that's a lot of empty trips, and that's a lot of clank jobs off the back of the rim or the front of the iron. The Philadelphia, and I texted you guys, Philadelphia's going to be hopping. Game 3 is going to be on fire, and I'm not saying they're going to win like the Warriors win. We know they're a different team. But I would disagree that they have to win ugly to win. I believe there's somewhere in between that they can settle on.
I think that there are more scores on the Toronto Raptors. We know this. They had to do a hell of a defensive job on Kawhi. And by the way, Kawhi still went off, scored 35 points. So it's not like, they harassed them into, what did he shoot, 50, almost 50%? I can't 13 of 24. I can't do the math. It's over 50%. But still.
13 or 26 is 50. It's a little bit,
They had
probably 54 or something like that.
They had to harass him in order to throw him off their game. But they still had 3 starters at 20 points. You know what I mean? So the 76ers, to me, are a versatile team. If J.J. Redick and Tobias Harris are knocking down shots, then they can outscore guys. But that's not guaranteed all the time.
See, but I think it is based on their percentages.
The beauty of what they do.
But that's what they do. They're both shooters.
But the beauty of what they do is that they can, if they have a bad day, play great defense. And
yes, as Jimmy Butler talked about in the postgame.
No doubt. Jimmy Butler said that. That's all he cares about. He cares about being an annoyance and a nuisance and a hustler and a hassler to whoever he's put on. Joel Embiid is the same way. Joel Embiid was sick. I mean, he talked about unsightly things that were happening to him before the game. Had to get an IV, but he still went out there and he played great defense. Now, he was 2 for 7, but he's 8 for 8 from the free throw line. Right? You knock him down. That's really the difference. The free throws. Right? He was 8 for 8. Jimmy Butler was 8 for 8. Whereas the Toronto Raptors, they missed a few of them, and so it's those little things that the Sixers team, I think, didn't have last year that they have this year. They can win in an ugly way, play great defense, and they make the freebies because freebies determine the outcomes of games more than we give it credit for, I think.
You just chip away. The crowd doesn't cheer. You know, it's like a little golf clap because you're expected to hit your free throws. It's not a raucous, explosion. But you tack on enough freebies and you chip away, maybe 5 or 6 a quarter, 6, 12, 18, 24. You start creeping up towards 30, which actually is a lot. But even if you're in the low to mid-20s, especially on the road, you hit a high percentage, and you protect the basketball, which, again, they didn't, you're going to steal some games. This is as much as I love what Philly did, I knew they'd play well last night. I said that on the show. I actually thought they'd win. And now I know they'll win a game in Philly. This game's going at least 6. This has real length, which is good for us as fans. But the one thing that Philly fans should be worried about, you give Danny Green a couple of dagger looks again, and he's not missing.
Yeah.
I mean, Danny Green, that's how Danny Green's gotten paid, by playing some defense and by knocking down wide open threes that just suck the life out of you. That's what he does. That's what's my name? You know who I am. I'm Danny Green. I'm Danny Green. I knock down shots. That's what I do. And he missed 4 of them last night, wide open, momentum swingers. That's not going to happen again.
No, I think you're right. But yeah, you look at his box score and you're like, 3 points, 1 of 6 from 3-point range. Nah, he's not.
But even when the misses came. I mean, just within the context of the game as it was unraveling, as Toronto had a feverish run, which they did at the end of the first half. I mean, their Sixers were up by 20. And I thought, and I tweeted this out, I said something along the lines of, and I put in capital letters, if Philly loses this game, it's the final 2 or 3 minutes of the second quarter that we will look back on as the reason why. Because they gave the Raptors life. They gave the building life. They gave the team life. I mean, they were destroying the Raptors. They were abusing them.
I agreed, and that's hard to do on the road, especially up in Toronto. We talk about how tough it is to play up there. But look, you give them credit, because I didn't think after game 1, I thought it was going to be a long series for the 76ers. So I give them a ton of credit.
You mean a short series? Like, I mean, I know what you mean.
But long and arduous.
Emotionally long, short in terms of actual viewing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, this one I have length, and they're all going to look different, I think.
They might. That's a good point. That's interesting, because that's why I challenge that, and it's a strong assertion, because and it's been backed up by their play this year. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I do believe there's a different layer in terms of how they can play, and I don't know if many of the other series give us the 3 or 4 potential scripts that this series might very well
That's why it's
produce.
Fun. That's why it's fun.
I agree.